This is a story about a girl's parents who left her alone overnight for the first time. The parents told the girl to make sure all the doors and windows were locked tight after they left, and not to open the door to anyone while they were gone. The girl did as she was told, and after her parents left, she went around and checked all the windows and doors. They were all locked tight. By 10 o'clock that night, the girl was bored being in the house on her own. She decided to go to her room with a big bowl of popcorn and get comfortable in bed. Not long after she got settled, she began to doze off and was awoken with a start when something touched her hand. It was the dog. The family's husky had come upstairs and licked her hand while she slept. The girl went back to sleep but was awoken again. This time, she knew straight away what had woken her up. It was a tap in the bathroom. Drip, drip, dripping. She reached down to her husky, who licked her hand while she fell asleep again. Every hour or so, the girl was awoken by the dripping tap. But because she had stayed up so late, she was too tired to go and turn it off tightly. Instead, she would reach out to check for her husky, and it would lick her hand while she fell asleep. It was just after 6:30 the next morning when she could stand it no longer and got up to turn off the tap. She walked into the bathroom and screamed. There was her husky, dead, skinned, and hanging from the ceiling. The sound hadn't been the tap. It had been her dog's blood dripping onto the floor. The girl ran back to her room to phone for help. There on her floor, written in her dog's blood, was the message humans can lick too. A teenage girl had been babysitting for the same family for a few years. The children were generally well behaved, and she enjoyed looking after them. One day, the family called the babysitter with a special request. My sister and her husband died in an accident, and we have taken in their daughter, the father said. She is very quiet after what happened to her parents, but she is no trouble. Would you mind looking after her, as well as the other children this Saturday? The babysitter said she didn't mind at all, and on Saturday evening, she went to the family's house. The children settled down in bed, and they all quickly fell asleep, except the niece. The little girl came back downstairs and asked if she could sit with the babysitter because the monster that killed her parents wouldn't let her go to sleep. Thinking the little girl was imagining things, but understanding she had just lost her parents, the babysitter decided to let the little girl sit with her. Seeing the babysitter's phone, the little girl asked if she could take some photos with it, and the babysitter said yes. The little girl cheered up just a little and walked around the room, taking photos of her teddy in different spots and snapping sad-looking selfies. Every now and then, the little girl would run back to the babysitter, crying and asking her to chase away the monster. To make the little girl feel better, the babysitter would pretend to chase it away. After a while, the little girl could no longer stay awake and fell asleep on the sofa. The babysitter carried her up to bed, tucked her in, and went back downstairs. She picked up her phone with the intention of deleting the photos the little girl had taken. But when she began to look at them, she let out a scream. In each of the selfies the little girl had taken, behind her, there was a pair of red eyes staring out of a monster's face. The haunting incident happened in 1972 at a party hosted by University of Michigan students living on Ashley Street. A 15-year-old girl, who probably had no business being there in the first place, suddenly felt a strange, bone-chilling cold, according to the Michigan Daily. In an attempt to warm up, she went upstairs because heat rises, we guess. That's when things really went awry. One of the walls of the house started moving, and a black shadow approached the girl. Meanwhile, downstairs, posters were spontaneously popping off the walls and falling into a growing pile on the floor. The girl wandered back downstairs, where she found herself saying these strange words: "The drugs and addiction were my fault, and I accept responsibility for that. But I was not that way deep down inside. I want to apologize to everyone involved for what I have done." What made those words even stranger was that the girl did not do drugs, let alone have an addiction. Her words didn't seem all that strange to the students who lived in the house, though. Before they moved in, The house had been inhabited by a man with a very serious addiction. The reason he no longer lived there? He had died of a heroin overdose. Has the ghost of Ashley Street made any more appearances? That remains a mystery, worthy of the most memorable horror stories.